You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman.
You know the answer to the question. You just refuse to answer the question from the member of Congress who has subpoenaed you to be here. Is there a different answer to that question?
Chair now recognizes Ms. Mace from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Cheatle, the American people are watching, and they're wondering if there are any questions you can answer honestly today. So, Director Cheatle, I have a series of questions, very specific questions. I want very specific answers. Most of my questions are going to demand a yes or no answer. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay, my first question. Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
No, thank you.
Was this a colossal failure?
It was a failure.
Yes or no? Was it a colossal failure is the question, yes or no?
I have admitted this is a terrible
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure, yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy preventable, yes or no?
Yes.
Has the Secret Service been transparent with this committee?
Yes.
Would you say the fact that we had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today as being transparent, yes or no?
I have always been eager
Yes
to
or no?
come
You didn't
and
want to
talk
answer
to
the question.
committee.
We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way. You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political, yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record articles by Punchbowl News, Political Playbook, Washington Post, all done at 5:24 a.m., 6:12 a.m., 6:34 a.m., a solid 3 to 4 hours before this committee got your statement.
Without objection to ordered.
Okay. Is the Secret Service fully cooperating with our committee?
Yes.
Okay, you say you're fully cooperating with this committee. On July 15th, this committee sent you a list of demands of information that we wanted. Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day? Have you done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or no?
I will have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th, yes or no?
I would have to get back to you
That
on
is a no. You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Mr.
Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
I want to.
I'm
Come
gonna
on.
We have to
continue.
maintain decorum in this committee, no matter
Have
how
you provided
upset we
any
get.
and all memos to this committee that we've asked you on July 15th? Have you provided all memorandums within the Secret Service?
I would have to get back to you on
That is a no. You are being dishonest or lying. Like you're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging and talking around it in generalities. And we had to subpoena you to be here, and you won't even answer the questions. We have asked you repeatedly to answer our questions. This isn't hard. These are not hard questions. Have you provided us all communications from the Secret Service related to that day and that rally? Have you provided this committee? We've asked for this information on July 15th. Have you provided any of this information that this committee has asked of the Secret Service? Any of it?
I'll have to get back to you on
Have
that.
you even read this letter that we sent you? Did you even read this?
Yes.
Okay, and you have said you don't know, you have no idea. Well, the answer is no. We haven't gotten a single document or piece of information or data from you or your agency in related to the rally that we have asked you for. So, was this attempted assassination of Donald Trump a failure of training or execution or both?
I think that those are answers that we need to
Training,
examine.
execution, or both? Which one?
I think those are answers.
All right.
we
How
need to
many
determine.
how many Secret Service personnel have lost their jobs due to this colossal failure?
At this time, none.
How many Secret Service personnel have been required to take a refresher course on how not to let people shoot Donald Trump?
Our personnel are currently operational. We are examining the facts of this investigation, and we will make the changes necessary.
What time did law enforcement become aware that there was an individual on the roof with a clear line of sight to President Trump?
I am still verifying timelines.
Of course, 9 days in, you have no answers. How many minutes went by between the time law enforcement saw and took photos of crooks and the shooting? How many minutes?
I am still verifying timelines.
57 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
The Secret Service has a leadership problem, and it falls on you. And although I appreciate your hollow words that the buck stops here, I was actually hoping for some answers. Director Cheatle, you must answer to the American people if you want to stay in charge. It's really, really simple. You want to keep your job, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. The best way to keep your job is to answer the questions, not play this shell game, not sing the Slim Shady song, wasn't me. I mean, come on. How long did you prepare for this hearing?
I've been preparing for this hearing over the weekend and into last week.
Okay, 5 days, 6 days?
As soon as I was notified
And how long was that?
about this hearing,
Okay, 4 days,
I began preparing.
4 days, 3 days?
I'm not sure the date that I got the letter asking me to be here.
What are you sure of? Are you sure the color of your hair? Are you sure the color of your suit? I'm just, like, tell the American people, what are you sure of? You don't even know when you started preparing for the hearing? I mean, the biggest hearing of your life, and you have no clue? You can't remember when you started preparing for this hearing? Can you understand why those words seem hollow to the American people who are supposed to entrust their faith in you?
I assure you, the moment I received notification.
But you can't remember. You got a little Alzheimer's, dementia going? I mean, what, you can't remember.
I have several active investigations going on and an operational agency to run.
Okay. All right. But you want to take accountability, right? The buck stops with you, right?
I am taking accountability.
Super. Then let's start with trying to answer some questions. You keep referring to the FBI. When asked how many shell casings were on the roof, you referred to the FBI. When asked if there were explosives in the car, you referred to the FBI. When asked if Crooks was acting alone, you referred to the FBI. See a common theme here? I can go on and on. My question is, who at the FBI should I speak with? Wait for it. Wait for it.
The FBI is responsible for the criminal
Is there a name?
I'm not certain.
I'm not certain.
Who at
All
the
right, here we go.
FBI
I'm
is
not
running the
certain. I
investigation.
don't know. Let me ask a different question. Have you been in communication with the FBI?
Yes, I have.
With whom?
I speak with the director and the deputy director.
Okay. And what have they shared with you about this investigation? So I'll give you an opportunity to answer again. Did they share with you how many shell casings were on the roof?
They have shared with me the evidence.
Did they
they've collected.
share with you how many shell casing were on the roof?
Yes.
Okay, how many were there?
I would refer to the FBI for their
How
investigation
many were there?
and their information that they need to share in their investigation.
So they've shared the information with you, you just don't want to share the information with us, correct?
We have concurrent investigations that are going on.
So they have shared this information with you. You know the answer to the question. You just refuse to answer the question from the member of Congress who has subpoenaed you to be here. Is there a different answer to that question?
I was always willing to come here and testify before this oversight hearing.
Beautiful. Then let's
wasn't a
do
thing
that.
that was
Let's
necessary.
for once have your actions match your words. So you've been in communication with the FBI. You know the answers, and you refuse to tell us the answers. So I will ask you again. You know how many shell casings were on that roof. What is the answer to that question?
I think it's pertinent
What
to talk.
is the answer to that question?
I think it's pertinent to talk to you about the information that the Secret Service has and that the Secret Service knows related
I'm
to the
asking
events
you
on
an
that day.
answer to the question. If you're supposed to be in charge, if the buck stops with you, how come you can't share the answers? What are you covering up? What are you hiding, my friend?
I'm not covering anything else.
Then why can't you answer a simple question?
I would leave it to the criminal investigation to answer questions related to that.
When you talk to the FBI and you ask them how many explosives, well, let me ask you, did you ask them how many explosives were on the roof? Did they answer that question? Or in the car, excuse me. Did they answer that question for you?
Yes.
Yes. So you know the answer to that question that my colleagues have asked you. But again, you refuse to give us the answers. You're playing this wasn't me. Well, I submit to you, if you can't, and it's not a can't, it's a won't. It's not a can't. It's not a I don't know. It's a I choose not to answer the question. Well, let me tell you, Ms. Cheatle, if you're going to lead, you need to lead. If you want to be in charge, then answer the question or step aside and have someone with the courage and the guts to answer to the American people the questions that they deserve answers to. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you, Chairman. Director, real quick, at what time was Secret Service aware of the active threat against President Trump? Director, what time?
So the Secret Service was aware that there was an individual who had been identified as suspicious, and that individual was attempting to be tracked down.
At what time?
I don't have a specific timeline other than to tell
Director,
you,
it's been 9 days.
I
At
understand
what
that.
time?
I want to make sure that I give you factual information, sir.
Director, have you talked to the agents on the ground that day?
Yes, I have.
You've talked to all of them. Your senior team has talked to every agent that was on the ground that day.
Yes, we have.
Have they all corroborated the same time they identified the shooter or they were made aware of the shooter, either by attendees in the crowd or local police department?
There are a number of reports of when those times were made.
Was it
those
5 minutes
notifications.
before the first shot rang out?
No,
Generally speaking, was it 10 minutes before the first shot rang out?
no. It
Was it 15 minutes before the first shot rang out?
It was less than that time frame when it was identified as a threat.
How many days before the shooting took place did Secret Service actually do their advance work to secure the facility that the rally was going to be held at?
5 days.
In the 5 days prior, when the security advance team did their work, did they identify the rooftop as a potential threat?
Again, I'm pulling those reports and that information.
It's been 9
to
days,
conduct those
Madam
interviews.
Director. Did they notice a rooftop 150 yards away that was a potential threat? Yes or no?
I am certain that the rooftop was noticed. I am pulling the reports.
What was the security parameters around securing that rooftop? What did they do?
There was overwatch provided for that rooftop.
Did Overwatch fail?
I am waiting to hear what the results of the investigation were so that I can identify where the failure was.
Who did you talk to that was on the ground that day that was responsible for Overwatch? What are their names?
I'm not going to provide their names in this setting.
Did you talk to the people that were providing Overwatch that day?
I've talked to the people that conducted the advance on that day and that were working the shift and were the counter snipers on that day.
So you talked to the counter sniper team, you talked to the people who were providing Overwatch that day, and you talked to the advance team, correct?
Yes, sir.
What did they tell you?
We are putting together a comprehensive report so that I can identify exactly where the gaps and the failures.
When the counter sniper team was on the roof and they identified that there was suspicious activity on the roof in question, what was the chain of command's orders around the person on said roof? Because I'm quite sure somebody saw under your organization, the Secret Service, I'm quite sure somebody saw the shooter on the roof. So what was the communication through the chain of command to deal with said person?
What I can tell you is that when the individual was identified by the counter sniper, they took one shot and neutralized that individual.
But that was after the shooter already took a shot, is that correct?
That is correct.
So what you're saying now is that the Secret Service did not see the shooter on the roof until after the shooter took a shot?
I do not have all of those details at this time.
If you don't have those details after 9 days, Director, then what you're telling me is that you guys didn't see it. Is that correct?
I am telling you I don't have all the details of the sequence at this time.
Director, it's been 9 days. Either you have the information or you do not. Is that correct?
We are still in the process of conducting interviews and an investigation.
Some of my colleagues have texted me over the last couple days, bipartisan, about whether you should lose your job, and I've been quiet on that question because I wanted to see what you were going to do today. In my opinion, you do need to be fired immediately, and it is because this is gross incompetence. And the fact that it's been 9 days, and these are simple questions to answer, I'm quite sure if I asked any one of my kids if they got in trouble and I told them to give me the details, I would get more answers from them than I'm getting from you right now. And that's what's frustrating on a bipartisan basis, on a nonpartisan basis. This is a joke. And Director, you're in charge, and that's why you need to go. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I request unanimous consent for that photo to go into the official record.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. Director, your agency has a no-fail mission, and on Saturday, July 13th, your agency spectacularly failed. The failure resulted in the death of Corey Comparator and serious injury to two other rally attendees, David Dutch and James Copenhaver, besides the injuries to President Trump. It is unfathomable that a 20-year-old on the radar of Secret Service and local law enforcement before President Trump went on stage was able to climb onto the roof of a building with a rifle and fire off multiple rounds before he was neutralized. Was Mr. Crooks acting alone?
Again, I would have to refer you to the FBI's investigation.
Was he just a lone gunman?
I would have to refer you to the FBI's investigation for motive.
What did the Technical Services Division determine was going to be the event perimeter?
Those are questions that we are asking, and we are still...
I mean, you're sitting here today. Come on, Director. Everybody said this. You knew you were going to be asked that question because it's been asked multiple times. So this is an easy one. What did they determine was going to be the event perimeter? So you should know that. I mean, this is not, gee, I got to wait till someone else tells me. What was it?
Again, I don't want to speak to specifics of the event
Okay,
that took place.
this is a specific.
I understand.
This is a specific that you ought to know. As someone who said the buck stops with me, I'm going to stay in my job, I'm going to give the answers to the American people, and I know what happened, except for you're not going to tell us. And you're not going to tell the American people. And you yourself said in an interview that foments this notion of conspiracy theories. Guess what? When you sit here and repeatedly tell people, hey, I have to wait, as it frustrated everybody on this committee, guess what? It undermines your credibility and whether you're really going to get to it. So I'm going to ask you again, what did the Technical Service Division determine was going to be the event perimeter?
We are still gathering reports. We are interviewing individuals.
You know what it is, though. No, you're just not going to tell us, right?
When I have those details, I will most certainly share those.
Was the gun already on the roof, or did the shooter carry the gun up with him?
I do not have that information at this time.
Well, when was the last sweep of that roof done prior to the rally?
I do not have that information at this time.
So how many holds, I mean, so most of us here have been in events, and Secret Service has been there, there's been security, and I can't tell you how many times we've said there's going to be a security hold right here. So we're going to wait, and we wait to 1 or 2 or 3 minutes. And yet we're hearing from you, apparently, that there were no holds in place. So ever instituted here with President Trump's going on stage. And you said, and this is, I think, connected with this, you said they hadn't adjudicated the shooter to be a threat. He was adjudicated to be a suspicious person, even though we've got some dynamic video that Mr. Krishnamurthy put on the video for us. So I guess my question for you is, and I think you answered this, I just want to see if you're consistent with what you said about an hour and a half ago. What do you do if a suspicious person is identified by the agency?
So at a number of our events, it is not unusual
I know it's not unusual. What do you do?
Those individuals that are identified as suspicious, we will send teams out
Was a team sent out here then?
There were teams that were sent to identify and interview that individual.
They were sent to interview the individual who's scampered up in camo on top of a roof within 130 yards of his target. And did your team get there? When did your team get there to conduct that interview?
I don't have the details on the timeline. It is my understanding.
So if they did send a team and they're going to interview him, and you described that earlier as an investigation, why didn't they put a security hold on President Trump going on stage at that rally?
At a number of our protective sites, there are suspicious individuals that are identified all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean that they constitute a threat.
Of course not. But here you got a guy scampering up the side of a building on top of a roof. It's identified to you, and you said you sent a team there. And you can't answer that. And this gets to one of my finer points, Mr. Chairman, if I can make it. And that is, we can have these kind of interview sessions, 5 minutes, everybody gets a kiss at the pig, 5 minutes, and she gets to stonewall us, not deliver answers. So we say, okay, we're going to put together a congressional committee, a blue ribbon committee. Same crap will happen. I am calling, and I'll support that, but I will tell you this, I am calling on the Speaker to give us and put together a truly independent commission of qualified former Secret Service agents, presidential and VIP protective services people who can actually conduct this kind of investigation and give us real answers, because I don't think you're going to give us those answers. You should have come today ready to give us answers. I call upon you to resign today. And I also would say I've got a bunch of UC requests, if I can go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Proceed with the request.
Thank you. I apologize. It might
That's all right. Go ahead.
It might take a moment.
Very important.
Anthony Guglielmi, the Secret Service spokesman, one from him.
Without objection, so ordered.
Article, U.S. Secret Service says it previously denied Trump requests for additional resources, New York Times reports.
Without objection, so ordered.
Secret Service says it denied earlier Trump requests for more federal resources.
Without objection, so ordered.
Secret Service acknowledges denying some past requests by Trump's campaign for tighter security.
Without objection, so ordered.
Preliminary findings by Senator Ron Johnson and his committee.
Without objection, so ordered.
Articles entitled, Notice Anything Different About Trump's Secret Service detailed. Next, former Biden official corrects herself after saying Dems must turn their fire on Donald Trump to beat him. Secret Service director says buck stops with her, but she will not resign. Disney Star Wars Mark Hamill cracks joke about Trump's ear bandage following assassination attempt. Biden, I haven't engaged in inciting rhetoric. Trump has. I'm just talking about threat to democracy. Piece called Who is Secret Service Chief Kimberly Cheatle? Charlemagne the God says Trump's solely responsible for violent rhetoric that led to attempt on his life. Video actress Amanda Seales pushes conspiracy theory Donald Trump assassination trip was staged. Report Secret Service identified rooftop as a potential vulnerability days before the rally. Watch BlackRock removes ad showing former President Donald Trump's would-be assassin. Why does the Biden administration have 100% confidence Secret Service after assassination attempt? Secret Service director, we didn't put snipers on the roof because it was kind of sloped. Here's what Thomas Matthew Crooks did in the days leading up to Trump assassination attempt. Secret Service director under scrutiny for diversity initiatives after Trump assassination attempt. The official story on Trump's shooting makes no sense at all. Andrew McCabe says Trump assassination.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. I'm happy to assent to all of them. I just so as to facilitate
you don't want me to
read?
Proceedings. Is it too tedious?
Well, we're not even really hearing them anyway. So if we could, it's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
You would like me to I'll slow it down. I was probably going too fast. Secret Service's explanations for security failures ahead of Trump assassination attempt are not adding up. U.S. reportedly received intel of Iranian plot to assassinate President Trump. What WTH, Secret Service now saying that they didn't put any agents on the roof because slight slope was too dangerous. Report, U.S. officials received intel of Iranian plot to assassinate Donald Trump before Crooks' attempt. Exclusive GOP rep Cloud. Homeland Security Agency is interfering in House's assassination investigation. Why Trump's raised fist after surviving assassination attempt is triggering the liberal media. Questions swirl over the security lapse at Trump rally, reviving old concerns about Secret Service. Secret Service scrambles to shift blame after Trump shooting as backlash hits hard. Nobody contacted me. Must-see 6-camera split screen of assassination attempt captures everything shooter was in open 2+ minutes. Murillo, 5 reasons you should be angry. Breaking, shooter spotted up to 30 minutes before firing, reported multiple times. Pictures taken, no one stopped him. Cheatle calls the 30 minutes between noticing and neutralizing shooter a very short period of time. Secret Service director says buck stops with me on Trump assassination attempt but won't resign.
Mr. Biggs, we'll stop right there. We can retake them on the next one. I know there are more,
Okay.
but without objection, we'll enter into the record.
So what is really striking about this is the flagrant lack of knowledge of the case, and especially the lack of accountability. As she said, the buck stops with her, but she refuses to elaborate on how she's actually going to take accountability and improve. She cannot even face the mistakes she made. Well, let me point out some of them for you. Your Honor, I would like to submit into evidence this Wikipedia article where she's talking about DEI hiring practices. Indeed, she wishes that the workforce were more diverse and inclusive, and her goal is to get up to 30% of the workforce as women by 2030. Except there is no mention of objectives, no mention of competency, no mention of merit, and the 30% itself is an absolutely arbitrary and bullshit number. Like, this is the Secret Service we're talking about, not McDonald's. You want the absolute best because of how critical this institution is to a country. If you mess up in a McDonald's, the customer gets the wrong burger. Big deal. You mess up in a government agency and people die. And indeed, people did die. Look at this video here. Like, she's tiny, let's be honest, and I absolutely commend her bravery. I really respect that, but let's be honest, she is not fit to protect somebody as tall as Trump. The next point of the article was that the roof was not manned because there was a slight slope. I don't know if that was true or bullshit, but if it was true, it was most likely a result of DEI policies and the weakening of discipline. So what if a roof is a little sloped? You're a fucking Secret Service agent. Get your goddamn ass in there and stop whining like a little bitch. But I wouldn't be surprised if the agents who didn't go there because of the slope were actually DEI hires themselves. Next, as you can see from this article, in April 2024 there was a female agent who attacked a superior, because, like it or not, the truth is that men and women differ in temperaments, and women are biologically higher in the trait neuroticism, which gives them higher amount of negative emotion and therefore makes them less stable, as can be clearly seen from this case. Do you really want unstable Secret Service agents? The 30% just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And that's not even the worst, because they then downplayed reports of a petition circulating within the agency, arising out of security vulnerabilities because of these DEI hiring processes. And if you want my opinion, that's probably their way of saying that all these female DEI hires were making TikToks at work. I mean, if you hire this many women in the secret services, do you really expect it to stay secret for long? How many women do you know that are good at keeping secrets? And I'm not saying this in a misogynistic way, but this brings me to my next point. The final and most, perhaps the worst part of it, is that they called criticism of these female agents misogynistic, and that diversity was helping and not hurting its team. Sorry, but being critical of such an important government institution is not misogynistic. These agencies are funded with billions in taxpayers' money, and it seems all those hiring practices have led to is a weaker, lesser effective institution that failed so badly that someone died, and a former president that missed the bullet by a fraction of a second. And the core reason for all that? DEI practices are appalling as a whole. And if private companies want to use them, that's their problem. But when you install them in a government, It isn't just dumb, it's actually dangerous. Because when you put DEI hires at the top, they hire more people based on DEI standards. And that's how you end up with a very diverse but completely useless agency. And because of that, people will keep on dying, unless we actually put some capable people back in these agencies. As my final point, I'd like to mention this LinkedIn article here. As you can see, it's gotten so bad you can just literally go on LinkedIn and check out all the employees of the Secret Service. Oh, there you go. Want to see all the employees? Yeah, just click that button. So much for being Secret Services, right? And finally, was it truly just DEI or was something deeper going on? I mean, look at all these details here. She was on Joe Biden's protective detail during the Obama administration. She served as Assistant Deputy Director for Vice Presidential Protective Division of Secret Service. She was the first woman to serve as Assistant Director of Protective Operations, a unit literally tasked with the protection of the President of the United States and dignitaries. In 2021, Joe Biden awarded Cheatle a Presidential Rank Award for exceptional performance, and in August 2022, he appointed her as Director of the United States Secret Service. Like, she literally was part of a protective detail and Director of those protective operations units before she became Director herself. It's not like she came in from like operations or management or never had any experience like, being on a protective detail or with protective operations. She was a director. She's supposed to be a veteran with many years of expertise. And yet, she couldn't answer a single question. Not the time they spotted him, not the event perimeter, if he was acting alone, or when she even got the subpoena for his hearing. DEI is one explanation for her incompetence, but I find it hard to believe that someone who was a director of these units cannot answer a single question. I find it suspicious, very suspicious. And let's not forget, she was allowed to resign after her catastrophic failure, which means she gets to live on taxpayers' money for the rest of her life. Anyways, thank you all, and I hope you have a nice evening. See you in the next one.